Stacy Sugarman is the host now.
Okay.
This is great. It says recording live on Facebook.
It is. Here we go.
All right, we're gonna try this again. I'm starting all over. This is Stacy Sugarman, Remax Center. Hi, happy Saturday, everybody. We're doing a buyer seminar. This is 100% free. This is for your benefit. And I have some distinguished guests with me today. We have Linda Stratton with North Point Mortgage. We have Randy Manning with Win Inspections and Christy Ackert with Luter, Larkin and Hunter, which is a closing attorney here in Georgia. And we are here to tell you what it's like for the buyers today, what the pitfalls might be, the ins and outs, the types of loans available to you, the importance of home inspections, and anything that you might run across that could pose problems during the closing. So first, I want to talk a little bit about what the market is right now in March of 2022. So got a few slides to help me here, I think. But while those are getting on, here we go. Okay, so as you see here, the black is year 2012. Okay, this was the average days on market. So in 2012, if I can speak correctly, the average days on market were like at 116. 2022 is the light lilac one down at the very bottom, which you will see that it is significantly lower. Is it still a seller's market? It is. There are still multiple offers. It is still extremely competitive trying to get a home. But the great thing is that there are some programs out there that can actually help you compete. So I'll go through those in just a minute. Our next slide here. This shows you what last year's sales versus this year's sales look like. So in 2022, there were 7,833 closings in March, which was a 4% decline since March 2021. That probably has a little bit to do with the fact that it is still hard to actually find houses because inventory is still low and the interest rate has gone up a little bit. But back when I first got in the business, and even when I bought my first house, the interest rates are still considerably lower than where they were when I first got in. So the attached single family homes, and the average sales price has in March of last year was 376,000, where today is 442,000. So you are seeing that there is still, the prices are still rising. And a lot of people are saying to me, well, we'll just wait till the market goes back down. You've got quite a wait ahead of you. And we do not foresee any time in the near future that the prices are going to start declining. It's just not that type of market. Even with the interest rates going up, the prices of the homes are not going down. So, so here's the thing. Do you buy sooner or do you buy later? Well, sooner, you're still going to get a lower interest rate and you're going to get a lower price. Later, you're going to have a higher interest rate and you're going to have a higher price. So what that means is you can buy more now than you will be able to down the road. So you get more bang for your buck at right now than you will say 2023, 2024. It will cost you more to buy a home and it will cost you more to get a loan as the time progresses. So the inventory again, if you could scroll up just a smidge for me so we can see the inventory. Down a little bit, you passed it. Go back to where the inventory is, please. Okay, so in the state of Georgia for March, all detached homes in the entire state, there were only 5,861 homes. That is not a lot. Let's see. And then for attached, there's only 977. So that's your condos and your townhomes. So they are, as you can see, there's still not a lot of inventory. Builders are trying, but unfortunately with the supply shortages, they cannot build as fast as they want to. And it's not just supply shortages, it's also work shortages, them getting enough contractors out there to be able to help them build these homes. So it is definitely still a very interesting market, but I'll tell you what, buyers are buying every single day. It is still a great time to buy. Now, a lot of people have voiced their concerns to me. Well, I can't win against these cash offers. What I need to let you know is I have programs that allow you to compete with these cash borrowers. It allows you to waive the financing contingency. It allows you to waive the appraisal contingency. And you even have a cash backup. So, you know, you're like, well, they can go this much over and I can't waive that appraisal contingency. Well, I have programs that will allow you to do that. And for those of you that don't know what that means, it means that the appraisal doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because as you will be able to close, because one of the programs that I use, even if it does not appraise, they will pay the difference, not you. And then there is a way that you can still, there are different other ways that we can use to strategically win the offers. And I will tell you that every single one of my buyers who is trying to get into a home, we've all gotten into homes. We've gotten into the homes that they want, but you have to have the right team. You have to have the right negotiating skills. You have to know what you're doing in order to be able to compete in the market. And that's very much where an experienced agent and the agent having a team to back them comes into play. So that's very important. Okay, so also, one of the things that also comes into play, okay, sorry, here's the property. I skipped this one, sorry. And so as you can see, there's not, right now in the marketplace, the only time properties expire is when they start out overpriced for what the property is. They typically don't actually, that's the only time properties expire, quite honestly, is if you don't price them properly. That is the only time. And once one's expired, it may give you a little bit more of a chance if you're trying to find, but you're not really getting a deal because eventually it's going to end up where it's supposed to end up anyway. They just didn't do it right the first time. So if the property's done correctly the first time, it's not staying on the market. I know that every time I put a house on the market, typically I'll do showings on the weekends and then we are under contract by Monday. So, but again, it is very important that you are using an experienced agent who knows how to do this market, because there are houses out there. So it's not like, oh, there's no inventory. That's not true. There's inventory. You just have to know how to find it. So what I want to talk about really quick is there is a period in the contract which I would never suggest that a buyer waive, and that is the due diligence period. The due diligence period is when you do your home inspection. I cannot speak enough how important a home inspection is, because a property might be all pretty and shiny, okay? But it doesn't mean that the property is actually in good condition. All right, so it is very, very important. This is not a $20 pair of shoes you are buying. This is a rather large investment. So the due diligence period is that period of time in which you perform this inspection. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hear from Randy Manning, who is with Win Inspections, and he's going to help you understand why it is so very important to have a home inspection.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. As Stacy said, I'm Randy. I own my own business as Win Home Inspection. We really do cover pretty much all of metropolitan Atlanta, so don't worry about that. A couple of things. to know is, from a due diligence standpoint, the longer due diligence we can get, the easier it is to get inspections in. We're seeing agents that are doing 3-day, 5-day due diligence, and sometimes there's just no way for us to get in an inspection that quick. So when you do go under contract, notify an inspector immediately to get on the schedule. Mandy, you got some slides there? Okay, what is a home inspection? If you've never bought a home before, you may not be aware, but the purpose of the inspection is to identify any visible defects that would adversely affect the function or integrity of the structure. And that could be based on many, many different things. So it is a third-party, unbiased inspection of the home at that present time, at the time that we look at it. And we will look at pretty much everything in the home, all the appliances that are installed, electrical, plumbing. We're looking for any things that are things that are defective as far as wired wrong, plumbing issues, not just leaks, but some other things. Sometimes the plumbers take shortcuts. Homeowners that do their own maintenance and modifications, it can be a really bad issue. Sometimes people think that we're there for an appraisal. It is not an appraisal. It is strictly identifying the visible defects while we're there. Next slide. Our responsibility is just to tell you everything's wrong with the home. Some of the things we're going to talk about would be cosmetic things. We do report those to you so that you don't walk in and say, well, what about this? What about that? We will let you know that it's cosmetic and not an issue. We will address all of your concerns, all your questions. If you were there at the inspection, we'll walk through and show you the things we're talking about, answer questions there. If you're not at the inspection, you're going to get either way, you're going to get a very detailed report. And we are always open for questions once you've seen that report. Next. So in looking for an inspection company, I know Stacy refers me, but you want to look at someone who's been in business for a number of years, what their background and training is. Georgia does not have a licensing program for inspections. It's not required. It's not even offered. And there are people out there that have done 20 inspections. I got into this business because, hey, things are really picking up. I've done 3,500 inspections over the last few years. So that is something that I think is very important going into this. And then the other thing is you definitely want someone who has all their insurance available. New home builders sometimes will not let an inspector on unless they have $1 million worth of E&O insurance and general liability. So that is something to just make sure that your inspector does have. And there are basically two organizations, I guess would be the best way to put it, that certify home inspection or home inspectors. And the industry standard is ASHI, the American Society of Home Inspectors. The second one is the INTERNACHI. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm a member of both, certified by both. But if you have an option or to be able to pick someone's ASHI, go with them, honestly. Next slide. We can skip that. We can actually skip that also, sorry. Let's go on down to the next one. There's a lot of stuff in here that's really not necessary for this type of presentation. Okay, so the extended full home inspections, the only inspection I do for as far as homes, it would be the extended home inspection. I do maintenance inspections, structural inspections, things like that. For purchasing a house, we would recommend the full home inspection. So this is a list of all the things that we look at. And then there'll be other things that we do look at that are not on this list, like I mentioned, some of the cosmetic things. So it's a very detailed inspection. It's It typically takes about 2.5 hours to do the inspection, depending on the size of the home. And your report is going to be generally somewhere between 40 and 50 pages long. There's just that much stuff to cover. If anyone has, some questions about this, most of this is on my website as far as the scope of the inspection, and can be visited there. Next. These are more details on the things that we do. One of the biggest things on the site, the exterior of the inspection of the home and the surrounding area, is water damage, water drainage. We see an awful lot of issues in basements, crawl spaces, where the water is draining towards the foundation, and people don't ever go into the crawl space, especially, and don't know that there's issues there. Stacy mentioned some homes just look gorgeous on the outside, and on the inside, some of these homes that are flipped, they go in and replace the carpet, the painting, sometimes the appliances. They do nothing in the attic and nothing in the crawl space. You can go in and look at the attic, and there's no insulation up there. Crawl space, there's rotten wood, water, mold, animals. And those are things that just aren't addressed when they're doing the modification or the renovations. But those are the kinds of things we're looking for. Next. Pretty much kind of covered this already, but we are looking at those areas. We're looking for cracks, leaning, footings or supports in crawl spaces, decks. Sometimes things are just not built right. And so we're trying to identify all those things. It is not a code inspection. We're not going to tell you which code is violated, but we are going to tell you what the issue is and who to contact to potentially take care of it. All right, you can keep going down. Yeah, these were all just details of what we're going to look at. In general, if you understand that we are going to look at all these systems, you don't necessarily need to see every individual thing we're going to look at, but that's what these slides are. Keep going. One of the things on electrical, we have a lot of homeowners. The electrical and the plumbing are some of the biggest issues we find, and that is, as a general rule, the homeowner that didn't know what they were doing. We're trying to get the house ready, or over the past years they've had an issue and they figured they could do it themselves, go out on YouTube. As a general rule, we would recommend a plumber and a licensed electrician to take care of things. There are safety issues that we see, fire safety issues, electrocution issues. So those are things you don't want to take lightly, and those are some of the things that will be identified during the inspection. The plumbing we talked about, there's just there's things that you're not going to see. There could be deteriorated wood that's been hidden by someone putting contact paper right underneath this kitchen sink. So those are the kinds of things, again, we're going to check and make sure are functional. The heating and cooling, excuse me, the Atlanta area, we have gas furnaces and air conditionings. We have a lot of heat pumps. Heat pumps are a little bit different from a standpoint. We can only test the cycle that corresponds with the season, which means I can't test the air conditioning when it's 30 degrees outside, and I can't test the heat when it's 90 degrees outside. So there are some limitations with some of those things that we can do, but we're going to identify as many of those things as possible. And we'll always recommend having a licensed heat and air contractor evaluate it if possible, prior to closing. Next. All right, we've touched on that. As far as the interior, what we are looking for, we're looking for sloping floors, cracks in the foundations, in the flooring. Slabs sometimes can be hard to identify, but things that are on like a crawl space or a basement, that we have a whole lot more visibility on some of those things. Some of your inspectors are not going to look at doors and windows. We actually check, do the doors close latch? Are they out of square? Do windows open and close? One of the biggest things we find is sash springs. The springs that hold the window open when you raise it. Or if those are disconnected or broken, the window will just slam right back down. Not good for fingers. And then foggy windows, windows that have defective weather seals. There are just lots of those, and those are not cheap to replace. So those are things that sometimes you can't see unless the weather conditions are right. So those are all the things that we're looking at. We can go next. I guess that's really it from a standpoint of what we're looking at for you, and we're working for you. We're working for the person who hires us. So the buyer's going to get the report, the seller's not going to get the report. Your agent's going to look at those things and potentially offer some amendments to fix the ones that might be critical. We have just, for instance, Stacy said all houses, anything from brand new construction to homes that are built in the 1920s. We inspect all those, and people who buy brand new houses think they don't need an inspection. We find things that you would not believe. In the attic, we find broken trusses that are just totally broken into. From a structural standpoint, that that's a big issue. Find things that are just installed improperly or backwards, or so those are things that we're going to find for you that, unless you are just really know a lot about building and construction and maintenance, that you're not going to get to see, or in areas that you're not going to go into. You probably would not be going into an attic and going all the way across to the backside to see where, oh, there's some water stains there. There's mouse droppings there. So just keep in mind, it doesn't matter the age of the house. You really do need an inspection. And I guess the best thing to say there is, when in doubt, if you don't really know for sure if you want one, consider the fact that you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars to buy a property that you may have thousands of dollars worth of repairs that need to be done, and spending $500-600 or less on a home inspection is really nothing compared to what you're paying for that new home. And we'll go over questions, and I'm not sure how we're going to do that, Stacy. Are we doing it through the comments, or how are we going to do that?
We'll take questions at the end.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about this morning. And then, as Stacy said, we'll cover, any questions. Make a list of whatever you got, and we'll take care of it.
Thank you very much, Randy. And all of everyone's contact information will be available at the end of all of this as well, if you need to be able to reach out to them because you have more in-depth questions. So I want to go back for just a minute. Thank you very much, Randy. The importance, Randy said you're spending, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase a home. It's best to protect your investment. If you don't get it inspected, you don't know what's wrong, so that you can make an informed decision about if this is the right house for you or not. Now, I know right now in this market, the sellers aren't doing a lot of repairs. But it would be better that that you're walking into a home that's probably going to need about maybe $1,000 worth of repairs or $20,000 worth of repairs. That's a big difference. So our goal here is just to protect you and your investment and your wallet, actually. So that's a very important thing. Thank you very much. All right, so I want to go back just a minute and talk about people thinking that they can't get homes because of the cash buyers. I told you that there are programs out there that are available that really allow you to compete with cash buyers. So don't think because you're getting a loan that you're out of the situation. I will tell you that every time I have a VA buyer, because unfortunately, sellers are very skeptical when it comes to VA buyers. And there's a reason for that, because I can honestly tell you, I think there's been once that I've had a VA buyer and we didn't have a problem with the appraisal. And so sellers know this information because our agents are telling them this. They're going to tell them the different types of loans that are going to be presented to them to buy their homes and the pros and cons of each loan. That's our job. We're going to educate them as to that. But I will tell you, there's a program that I use out there, and every time I've had a VA buyer, my advice to them has been, it will be worth the small amount that you pay to use this program, because you get to, your VA loan no longer plays into effect. Yes, you're still getting a VA loan. Yes, you're still using your lender, but people don't look at it negatively anymore, because they know that you're not going to ask them to reduce the sales price. They know that that there's just not going to be the same problems. And so it is very important that your agent is very educated on all of the programs out there to benefit you. It's a great program for an FHA buyer, because they kind of almost fall into the same category, where, typically an FHA buyer doesn't have a lot of times additional money to pay the difference between their purchase price and what the property actually appraised for. So there are some great programs out there, but I'm going to let Linda go ahead and talk to you right now about what is available out there for you as far as the different types of loans. And they even have a program that can assist in some of this as well. But again, just reach out to us or ask a question, and we will be more than happy to educate you more on this. And so I'm gonna let Linda Stratton with North Point Mortgage go ahead and let you know what those items are right now.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody. It's a great, beautiful Saturday, I hope, for all and wherever you are. I am with North Point Mortgage, but we are a branch of Fairway. So you'll see Fairway on my presentation. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that first. But let me go on and share my screen, and then we can look at everything and look at different types of programs. Give me just a minute. There we go. Okay. So as Stacy said, there's a lot of different programs. There's a lot of different ways that you can get a mortgage. And one program may not be the right for you, where it may be perfect for somebody else. So it's really important with whoever you talk to that you make sure that they're listening to you, looking at the details of your situation and making sure that you're getting what is best for you and your family. This is not about a loan officer telling you what is best for you. It's about you doing your research and making sure you understand all the different pros and cons of the different programs, and how long you're going to stay in the house or how short you're going to stay in the house makes a difference of what program you choose. So everybody's heard of conventional, FHA, USDA, VA. There's pros and cons of each of those. Unfortunately, or I say fortunately, conventional loans by sellers are looked at for the strongest. And the reason is that usually a conventional buyer is a little bit stronger. It's a little less forgiving as far as credit scores, as far as down payment. So therefore a seller thinks, oh, this is a stronger buyer, but it may not necessarily be. It may just be something from the past or something that happened that the borrower may not be able to go conventional. Okay. As I tell all my customers, life happens and life does it. FHA is a little bit more forgiving. So somebody that may have a little bit lower credit score or may have not as much money to put down, they may go FHA. Or let's say, like I said, they had a life event. They lost a house a few years ago. You don't have to wait as long for FHA as you do conventional. USDA is an amazing product, but it depends on where your house is located on whether or not you can buy a USDA home. So that's also a different option. It's 100% financing, so people love it, but there's not really anything about it. It's for certain areas. It's rural development. And of course, a VA, like Stacy talked about. Stacy has a program that she has found that is amazing for VA buyers. It has saved numerous ones that I have worked with when the appraisal does come in low. But we got to think about it from the veteran perspective. The VA appraisers, they want to watch out for the veteran. So they may be a little bit tougher on value. They may be a little bit more picky as far as looking at the house because they are watching out for our veterans, which we all appreciate everything that they've done. So here's a little bit about conventional, okay? And you may not know this, but as a first-time buyer, you may be able to put down as little as 3% for a conventional loan. And if you're going to stay in your house for several years, yes, you have mortgage insurance to start with, but it can come off once you have 22% equity. So it is a way that you can put in mortgage insurance and then it drop off. So that's a big benefit of conventional. It says on here credit scores of 620, but like I said, conventional is not quite as forgiving. So when you do have a lower credit score, you're gonna have a much higher interest rate. So you kind of have to be careful of that, okay? Seller concessions vary depending on how much you put down. So the agent really needs to know, and Stacy needs to know how much you're putting down so that she can know how much she can ask for from the seller. But I will whisper to you right now, it's really hard to get a seller right now since it's a seller's market to pay any closing cost at all. So when you're out there buying your first house, you need to think about down payment, you need to think about prepaids, and you need to think about closing costs, because all of that is coming out of your pocket. And I am so sorry for the background noise. We're being sung to. Anyway, this is just a little bit more about the loans, but just whoever you talk to get your loan is talking to you about all the different options. Again, this is your choice of what type of loan you use. It's not them to tell you what's best for you. FHA loans, again, are a little bit more forgiving. FHA was set up by the government to help first-time home buyers. So there is a minimum down of 3.5%. The mortgage insurance is the same whether you have a 600 credit score or an 800 credit score. So it's just a little bit different, and it's a little bit more forgiving. There is upfront mortgage insurance, which is rolled into the loan amount, and then there is monthly mortgage insurance. They do the upfront so that the mortgage insurance is not as high, because on the conventional, the mortgage insurance is based on your credit score and it's all monthly. So they tried to figure out a way to make it a little bit easier, since they are having to charge a little bit more because, again, it's a little bit more forgiving. So it is rolled in, and it's rolled into your loan amount, and then there's also a monthly. So you want to make sure you understand all of these things. But you got to think about an FHA loan can only be on your primary residence. So if you are out there buying a second home or investment property, you cannot use FHA, okay? USDA, like I said, USDA is an amazing product, but you got to make sure the house matches, and the house is in a rural development area. There is a great website for USDA where if you find a house you love, you can put that address in, and it'll tell you whether or not it's USDA eligible. USDA, again, is a little bit different. There are much lower ratios is what required. So it really is a strong buyer, because they can only use 29% of their income to go towards the house payment. Whereas let's say FHA or conventional, you can use almost 45%. That's a big difference. So USDA is a really good option. VA, here we go. This is for our veterans. One thing that's really cool that a lot of people don't know about VA, and if let's say you're buying your second home and you're not buying your first home, you have a VA home, you're not going to sell it before you buy this next one. There's what they call bonus entitlement. VA actually lets you use your veterans benefits more than once. So it's a great deal. Again, sometimes sellers don't like those offers, but check with Stacy, because she'll tell you the secret she has, and it is an amazing secret. But again, just like FHA, you cannot have second homes, vacation homes, investment on that. It has to be your primary residence, okay? Okay, I'm gonna skip this. This shows you a little bit about, you talk about when you buy a house, all of the things that you have to go through. Well, one of the things that Stacy brought up is this brand new program that just rolled out about a week or so ago, and it's really amazing. So what we do now is typically you would have your pre-qualification, okay? And what that would be is you would fill out an application for me online, or whoever you're going through. You would show us your documents so we can make sure what you put online is the same as what those documents support. And then we would run it through the automatic system, and you can hear about that. It's DU or LP. You'll hear that from different lenders. And then we give Stacy a approval letter so that she can take you out and look for a house. Now what we're doing is, instead of just me looking at it, we're getting everything together and we're sending it to the underwriter so that the underwriter can review it. They can fully approve it before you put a contract on a house. Yes, fully approve. So if you're somebody that is saving money, or you don't have money in the bank right now, this may not work for you, but it's somebody that is ready to buy and they're full tilt. We'll send it to the underwriter. The underwriter will approve it. And guess what? Stacy will write a cash offer on that home. Now, what is absolutely amazing to me is that not only is she going to write a cash offer, but your seller has an addendum to the contract that says if anything happens on your loan and you are unable to purchase, Fairway Mortgage will purchase that house from the seller. So the seller is at no risk. Well, if I was a seller, I sure would take that offer. Now, one other caveat on this is if you decide, or if the seller decides they don't want Fairway to purchase it, guess what? They'll give the seller $10,000 just because they accepted your offer. Again, how strong is that going to be? Now, Stacy's secret weapon is much better if you're afraid of the appraisal coming in and stuff. But I'll tell you what, for every other buyer, this is an amazing product. And I don't know any other lender that's doing it. So let's get back. That was all up front. So that's a lot of stuff to do up front. But guess what? After you go get your home search and you go find your home and you go under contract, all that has to be done if you do that program is the appraisal. Well, wait, I lied. The inspection first, then the appraisal, and then the title. And this is all of the people that are on this that can tell you how important those pieces are, but you're fully approved and you don't have to stress over the other stuff. And then you get to own a house. Make sure when you're purchasing a home, and think about this ahead of time too, when you're purchasing a home, you don't want to, sorry about that, guys. Anyway, you don't want to go out there and buy anything new. You don't want to go out there and incur more debt because they're going to look at your debt to income ratio. They're going to look, and not only your credit scores. Think about it this way. You think, oh, well, I'm not getting more debt. I'm just putting more money on my credit card. That lowers your credit scores. So really think about what you're doing. And a really good idea, and Stacy and I do this a lot, maybe you're not ready right now. Maybe you're going to be ready in a few months, or maybe you're ready in a year because you're in a lease. Go on and find out where you are. There's nothing better than making a plan to buy a house. And don't you want to know that you're in the best position possible? You get the best interest rates, you get the best program, and you know what you're doing. How powerful is that? So Stacy and I really believe in that, and we'd like you to believe in that too. And again, do's and don'ts. Let's see. Oh, and that was everything that I had to share today. And I know it was very quick, and I know we had some interesting background noise, but life is always interesting. It just shows you that things happen when you're not totally prepared.
It does.
Everybody have a great day.
One of the things that I really, really want to stress when you are using a lender, okay, this is extremely important. Not all lenders do all of their homework on the front end. It is very, very important. I have heard so many horror stories. Fortunately, I have not been involved in them because you see my lender. But I have seen where they just gave them an approval without actually looking at anything. The only thing they did was look at their credit score, and they didn't check anything else. And they didn't do it till it was too far down the road. And those people were not qualified to buy the home that they were buying because all of the work wasn't done at the front end. And I'm going to tell you, that's Linda and I have worked together for a very long time. And that is one of the things that I so appreciate, is that she prefers the hiccups come at the front and not the back. So all of the important things are done at the front so that you're not, halfway through and all of a sudden you don't qualify for the loan. Okay. Again, our job is to protect you and make sure, that the transaction goes as smooth as absolutely possible. And many times people will call me and they'll say, well, I don't know if I'm ready or not. I don't know where I am, or I need some help cleaning up my credit. What do I do? I tell them, don't pay one of those companies that's going to say, oh, we can fix your credit, and they charge you all this money. It's a scam. It's a scam, guys. It is a scam. All they do is dispute everything, and then it all comes back. It's not worth it. I actually have them go ahead and talk to Linda. They authorize her to go ahead and pull everything, and then she can literally tell them what needs to happen and how long it's going to take for them to be able to purchase a home. And she doesn't charge them a penny. That's the important thing. Okay. So make sure that you have a very reputable lender who really, really looks out for you. And as she said, and I'm going to be honest, the VA product is an amazing product for the veteran. It's an amazing product for the vets. Unfortunately, on the seller side, it carries a negative connotation, and only because of appraisals, because it's an amazing product for the vets. They don't have to have a down payment. I mean, there's just so much there. And so we just found a way to work around that without getting them extra cost, which is fantastic. So thank you very much, Linda. Okay, so there are things that can happen during a closing. And truth be told, last year, I had one where we were under contract and it went crazy. And it literally was no fault of my buyers. This was 100% on the seller side, okay? And we had no idea. It turns out that there was someone else attached to the property that we were not privy to. And that person had passed away during COVID. Well, they were never taken off the deed. And from there, it went downhill. Both sides of the family were fighting because one of them felt like they were being taken advantage of, and the other side was unwilling to budge. And my poor buyer closed on their house like 5 months after we went into contract. We had to go through the whole court system and everything to get this all straightened out. Fortunately, it did work out for them, and they were allowed to live in the property, you know, the whole time. So they were renting and living in the property, but it was very emotionally taxing on them. It just, you know, it was just way, way, way up in the air. Fortunately, it did work out in the end, but this is the importance of having a great title company, because this lady on here, Christy Accurate, is actually the person who caught the problem and helped us to get it fixed. So Christy, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Stacy. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. I don't have as much to offer on the buying side because it's always on the seller when it comes to title, but I do have some points to make. Stacy's referring to Orchard last year. I'll never forget this closing as long as I live, but it had actually closed, and I had to take it back past the death certificate because I found something in the back chain. And that's why it's so important on the selling side to get things straightened out prior to closing. But on the buying side, there's a lot of things we can do too. I know Linda had mentioned USDA earlier today, and you can't own any other properties when you go for financing for USDA. So I've had some people come to me to divest their interest in properties to make sure that they're not on a record as a primary residence for Gwinnett County or DeKalb County or whatever. So those are kind of some things that you can clear up prior to closing if that is a loan program you're planning to utilize, especially in some of the what we call tier 2 and tier 3 counties. But I think I can see all of what we're talking about. I'm kind of like at the end of the process, after the appraisal, after, you know, the financing, everything comes to me. So I kind of work with all parties in the end. And I can tell you from my experience over the last couple of years, as crazy as the market has been, a lot of these contingencies have been dropped, like Stacy says. So finding the right agent is a cornerstone piece of this process, but the lender, a lot of these sellers are looking at the loan officers and the lenders that you're submitting with your pre-qual letter. And that is a determinant. I don't think FHA is a determinant. I don't think VA is a determinant. I close those still all the time. So you're not going to have a seller that's going to be like, nah, it's FHA. That's not happening. It's just the way it's being packaged and presented to the seller. And I promise you, I cannot emphasize it enough. They do turn these down because of the lenders, and they'll waive contingencies, they'll waive due diligence, all these things. But that's kind of like if your agent has a good title company, things that we can do up front. Stacy will be in the field and she'll send me an email. I need this immediately. Please help me figure out what this is. And that's just finding and crafting a plan to bring an offer to the table that's comprehensive for both the buyer and the seller. So we can do a lot of things behind the scenes. But more to the point, I think I'm seeing a little bit more loans back from 2009, if anybody remembers those. Some interesting financing going on, but those are the ones that usually fall apart at the end. You know, the creative, we're going to come at this way, we're going to come at, I see loan origination fees from brokers coming back, and like brokers coming back into business. So I really do think that having an agent that's looking out for your best interest, having a title company look out for your best interest, having an appraiser, your team formation is important. Also, due diligence is important for HOAs. So I wanted to touch on that as well. If you're interested in a property as an investment property, there is a website that you can go to determine the rental restrictions for properties. If you can't find that, your agent can come to me and look for those things. If you're purchasing a condo and it's an FHA, there's a website you can go to make sure it's FHA qualified. All these things that you can do before you fall in love with a property and make an offer, right? So in terms of closing and realistic expectations of closings, I kind of do see people having to wait 6 months to close because the seller has to find a property. So like Linda said, making a plan to buy a home in advance is really going to be the most advantageous thing that you can do for this process at this time. And buy title insurance, please. I had a lender that did his own closing, a loan officer, and he waived title insurance yesterday. And he didn't know what title insurance, can you explain to me what title insurance was and is, and why I should encourage my buyers to buy it? And I was floored. I've never been asked that by a lender before. What is it? And so having those people in your corner and a loan officer that's not going to remove something that's going to protect you in the future, just having those honest and direct conversations is vital to the health of the purchase of your property and the long-term investment that you're looking to make. Because I see title problems every day, all day long. I have a spreadsheet with about 15 exceptions on it right now that I have to solve. And it could be very simple, but it could take a long time. And like Stacy said, that one title clearance was 6 months. I had to do some fast talking and get a temporary occupancy agreement in place while we figured out the process, because we had to get a new death certificate. I mean, it is in depth, it is detailed. And when you think something is not significant, don't count it out. It could very well be something that could make or break a purchase of a property. But I'm here always as a backup if you have questions. I know I don't have a slideshow, but like I said, most of title is a seller issue, obviously. We love our buyers. We love to close loans, but the sellers always has the onus of what's on the property, how we clear the property, what we need to provide. If you're going to go out of town before you buy a property, please let your lender know, because POAs are not always accepted by a lender when you're purchasing a property. Trust agreement, when you submit an offer to your lender, give them the trust agreement to review it, or anything that you want to put on the property or transfer into the property, let someone know in advance. These are things we can take care of, because they will hold up a property. So don't get on a plane to Italy 3 days before closing and not have a power of attorney. These are all anecdotal, by the way. It happens all the time. So if you have any questions, please let me know. We're always here to help. But the market's crazy. It's not slowing down. Interest rates haven't slowed down anything. Maybe the refi business, but in terms of a residential resale, it's still hot. There is inventory. I know it because I'm working here on a Saturday. So everything is very, very, very brisk. And I love to see it. So, and thank you for letting me be here today, Stacy.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Christy, if you wouldn't mind, really quick, just in case they have a lender who tries to get them to waive title insurance, can you explain to them what that is?
So I've come up with a new process for this. If a lender waives title insurance and it's not the buyer who waives title insurance, I let the lender know that the attorney will be reaching out to the purchaser, and the purchaser will be signing a hold harmless at closing. It is a one-time fee. It is a one-time cost. And excuse me, my boss will even tell you, my managing partner, he pays the same premium amount you do. He doesn't get a discount, and he buys it for every one of his investment properties. It is an insurance just like anything else that you have in the world, health insurance, car insurance. So if you have something that comes up in the back chain of your property and you can't sell it or you can't cure it, you can submit a claim with a title insurance company to make your property solvent again and marketable to sell. So I always use this example, even before I started in this business in 2002. I'm a third generation paralegal. There was a family in my neighborhood that built their dream home, and it was gorgeous. And an heir came back in the back chain and claimed rights to the property, and they never purchased title insurance. House owned free and clear. So it's just a one-time purchase, very minimal. Your lender's purchasing it. Why wouldn't you? If your lender's encouraging them, they have to purchase it. So if they say don't purchase it, then say, okay, are you going to remove yours? Of course not, because it's an insurance. It is absolutely something you need to buy. I would tell my son to buy it. I would tell my daughter to buy it. I bought it myself. So it's very important. And so I've just decided that if the lender says, without discussing it with the buyer, hey, we're going to waive title insurance, I have the attorney call the buyer immediately, and then they sign a hold harmless, which usually means they purchase title insurance. I had somebody $3 million last week that wanted to waive it. And we're like, no, let's make sure we're making the best decisions possible for the biggest investment of your life.
Yeah.
And it's important. So
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it is, that protects your interest in your property. Now, had those people have had title insurance that built that beautiful house on the land that was not insured, things would have gone differently for them. So they lost everything they had there, right?
correct. And you're also protecting your heirs' interest too if something happens to you, right? So it's generational. It's not just you. But also be very protective of how you manage your title after you purchase the property. Don't quick claim anybody off the property. It'll nullify your title insurance. So just come to the person that you closed with or your agent to have a discussion about, hey, I want to add somebody, I want to remove somebody, and I can help you protect that title insurance and make sure it stays intact. A lot of people don't understand that. And they'll do something to compromise their title insurance. But they lost their home, they lost their investment, and they're creating generational wealth, and they had to start over. So it's very important. But yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to go back to Linda really quick because I meant to ask you to talk about people who had taken advantage of the forbearance during COVID and how that might affect their buying power.
You have to be careful, and it depends on what type of loan you're getting on how they look at it. And there's different types of forbearance. Some of the forbearances you made payments on it. Some of them you totally didn't make a payment at all. So you got to put yourself back in and make your house payments and your current payments. Because think about it, this is the way I describe it. Think about it this way. If you go into forbearance, that means you can't afford the payment. So how do you buy a bigger home, more expensive home with a higher payment if you couldn't afford your home that you're in right now? So that's the way an underwriter is going to look at it. So that's one of the things of being prepared. Oh, I'm going to go sell my house because I'm going to make all this money on it, but I haven't made a payment on it in a year. Get those payments started again. And remember too, when you go to closing with Christy, you're going to have to pay all that back. You're not going to have the same payoff you had a year ago. It's not like that was forgiven, because it wasn't. So you got to think about those kind of things, because I've seen people that go to sell their house, they're having to make up that difference, and they haven't thought about it. And they thought they were going to net so much more on their house than what they're really netting. So check these things out. And again, that's why you need to really think about it before just going on a whim and going, oh, I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to buy a new one, and everything's perfect and peachy. Think about all the things that can pop up. And like Christy said, I used to be in her position. There is so much that can pop up on title. So title insurance is very, very important. And it is a one-time charge. It covers you for the life of the time that you own the house. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Can I make a point about
buy a
that?
house without it.
I apologize. I want to make a point of what Linda was saying, because a lot of people are taking out these forbearance loans with HUD, and they're thinking and assuming they're not having to pay them back. I recently this week had an issue, and it got to the closing table. It was $88,000. Seller did not know they had to pay it back. But the issue is this too, they just took out the loan. So my question is, if you didn't buy title insurance and you didn't know that HUD loan had been recorded and you closed within that gap period, that would have still been on title. And a lot of sellers don't know they need to disclose that as a lien because they don't think they have to pay it back. So there are a lot of issues that you can, as a buyer or your agent, can ask the seller, hey, have you done it? Because they're still active, correct, Linda? These forbearance loans for, yeah. So it would be, you have to have a savvy agent to really ask the right pointed questions. Hey, is this property been in distress? Are they 3 months behind? Have they taken out any relief loans on the property? And because you could get all the way to the table and they don't realize they have to pay it back and they may owe at closing, which is not a big issue right now because the houses have so much equity in them. But that's just a point I wanted to make because those programs are still out there. So just be aware.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the old adage, if it's too good to be true and you think you're getting something for nothing, it is not true. There's something else to it. So beware.
That
Or
is
ask
really-
professionals, right, Stacy?
Yeah, absolutely. That is very true. So again, I can't stress enough how important it is that the agent that you're working with really has a team in place that is always looking out for your best interest. You know, they've got to have that around them because this business just has too many ins and outs and curvy turns to do it all by yourself. So make sure that your agent has that they have the amazing support team, that they have the people that they can go to, that to make sure that your best interest is the one that is always being taken care of. Okay. So if there's not any questions, Mandy, I see something in the chat. Is that just from you? Okay, awesome. All right. So so what we'd like to do is if any of you out there are interested in getting a free buyer's brochure to understand a little bit more, you know, what goes on through the process, all you have to do is DM us, or we'll put all the contact information in here for you. And you can just reach out to whomever it was that you needed more information from. We'd be more than happy to help you. And also, if you have a home that you need to sell and you would like a free evaluation on that, we'll be happy to take care of that as well. Can't stress you enough. If you're going to sell a home and buy a home, get a pre-inspection on your home. Get that taken care of so that you can address anything at the front end that may prevent you from getting the most out of your home when you try to sell it. So, you know, just to make sure, I mean, the minor things, not that big of a deal, but sometimes there's major things that you're not even aware are there. And it's just way better to know that up front so that you know exactly what you're dealing with. Okay. So I would like to thank my special guest today, Linda Stratton with North Point, Randy Manning with Wynn Inspections, and Christy Ackert with Luter Larkin and Law. And just thank you very much. And please reach out to us if there's anything that we can do for you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.